Jesus was clocking T in chapter 23. Today's Bible study comes from Matthew chapter 23. And join me for Bible study. Crack open your books though. Get in your word. What is God trying to tell you? 23 was a gut check. It's an opportunity for us to check our heart postures. It's an opportunity for us to invite in conviction if we are experiencing any of these things that he is calling out to the Pharisees. It's an opportunity for us to lay it at God's feet so he can fix it. Talking to the religious leaders in chapter 23, and he is going off. No holds barred. He's going in. And he's talking specifically about how they are hypocritical. He even calls them blind guides. Wow. The finger all day long, but honestly, some of us has been in the same situation where we have been carrying ourselves as religious people on the outside, but on the inside, we are doing everything but serving God. Have you ever been in that situation? Because I can honestly say that I have been there. I would have Jesus, lover, believer in my bio, but I'm posting pictures on Instagram that are everything but what a Proverbs 31 woman should look like. Honestly, I can't point the finger too much because it definitely has been me, but God is working on me. And this right here, chapter 23, is a conviction. It's not an opportunity for us to look at the Pharisees and be like, okay, well, yeah, he told y'all, yeah, you can do that. But it's important for us to look at it like, okay, God, what should I be gathering from this? Which one of these 7 sorrows am I doing that you should be wringing out of me, that I need to put at your feet to get rid of? Because I want to be a walking example of your son. And if anything that I'm doing in this moment is keeping me from being just that, God, rip it out of me. Talk about some of these 7 sorrows. Let's talk about the 7 ways that it is mentioned to guarantee that you're going to get God angry. Chapter 23, verse 13, neither entering nor letting others enter into the kingdom of heaven. Like a lot of things, because our church should be open. We should be allowing people to come in. Have you ever heard of a church that stops you at the door because you're wearing something inappropriate? Like, no, we should be allowing people in because God is concerned about our heart. Only we're concerned about what's on the outside. 23:15 talks about leading people away from a loving relationship with God by encouraging legalism. Pharisees were converting people over to their religion, not to God. Way too focused on traditions and what it looked like to be a follower than explaining what the real relationship was like. 3 verses 16 to 22 talk about blindly leading God's people to follow man-made traditions instead of God's word. It wants us to look within ourselves and say, what man-made traditions am I doing that stand against what God's word is saying? What am I doing? For me, it was one of those things where reading my horoscope. I used to read my horoscope every single day. And I'm not up for debate on this one, but I used to read my horoscope every single day. I even have a Gemini tattoo on my neck. I used to do it all the time. But conviction set in. It was a tradition that I set on my own. Like, I need to read my horoscope. I need to see how it impacts my day. I need to see what my day looks like. But what that does is that takes away my need for God to lead my footsteps, my need for my faith to show up. So many things, but that's just me. What about you? 23 verses 23 to 24, being involved in every last detail, but ignoring what is really important, such as justice, mercy, and faith. When Jesus was talking to the Pharisees, he was talking about how they made sure that what gold went into the temple. They wanted to be a part of every single thing, but forgot about the importance of really what was important, which was God's justice, his mercy, and actually having faith. Have you been there before? 23 verses 25 to 26, keeping up the appearance while having a corrupt and private world. And definitely, honestly, I can't throw any shade because I've been there. I have definitely been there. Have you been there where you presented yourself as a Christian? You presented yourself as a woman of God or a man of God in front of anyone and everybody else, but on the inside, at home, when the doors was closed, you was doing something else. Baby, God had to convict me. He had to convict me. He's getting me straight on a daily basis. And no, I'm not perfect. No, I'm not perfect by any means, but God is wringing these things out of me as I ask him to do that. And in faith, I believe that he will. 3 verses 27 through 28, acting spiritual to cover up sin. Girl, I thought, I've been all these, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. Where I may have sinned and then, then I want to go to church super hard. Then I want to tithe extra. Then I want to do this, then do that. Definitely been there. I can't point the finger at nobody. God, this is just pointing out all the things, the 7 sorrows, good ways to make God angry. You want to figure out a way to make God angry? You follow these steps. And honestly, like, we can look at these things and we can look at these 7 sorrows, these 7 scenarios that Jesus is pointing out in the hypocrites, the Pharisees, the religious leaders that he's talking to, and point the finger back at ourselves and say, you know what? I did that. You know what? I'm doing that. You know what? God, fix it. You know what? God, correct it. You know what? God, I'm putting this at your feet because I don't want to be that. At least chapter 23, verses 29 through 36, pretending to have learned from past history, but having a present behavior that shows the opposite. I pulled you out of a lot. He pulled me out of a lot. I remember, there was the last time I used to smoke, right? The last time I smoked, I was like, I don't know, 25. I ain't gonna tell you how old I am now. Just know I ain't 25, okay? But I was like 25 years old. And I remember I went to these people's houses and I smoked with them. And I remember being outside. I remember praying, God, if you bring me down from this, I will never, ever do it again. I promise. Like, that was the worst experience ever. And God pulled me out of that experience. He pulled me out of that. So for me to be a disobedient child and to go back to doing that when I just begged him to pull me out of that situation, I just promised him to pull me out of that situation, I can only imagine how a father would feel. In terms of my children, like if my children are begging me to pull them out of a situation or begging me to help them with a situation and I do it and then you go back to it, oh, baby, what are we doing? Sinning and repenting does not give you an excuse to sin again. It doesn't give you that excuse. Sinning and repenting means you're really going to apologize. You're really going to work hard on not falling into that sin again. Doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. Not at all. But it means that you're going to put in an active step to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Looking at Matthew chapter 23, my study Bible asks a really good question. And it says, what do you need to change so that Jesus's words don't apply to you? And if you're a journaler, this may be a great journal prompt for you today. Read Matthew 23. Pray before you read it and talk to God and ask him to point out any of these situations, any of these verses that should be acting as conviction in your spirit, and ask God to wring it out of you. Journal about that, write about that, lay it down at his feet. Your faith and your relationship with God should be pulling you to change. You should be desiring that change. And honestly, the deeper you walk, the closer you walk with God, you're going to want to change. Stuff just don't seem fun anymore. Waking up in the morning, reading your daily horoscopes, it don't seem fun no more. It just don't work no more. I don't know. But let me know what you got from Matthew chapter 23. And guess what? I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow for chapter 24. Bye.